Hello everyone, once again I'm the Cosmic Engine and welcome to Forced. So what exactly is Forced, you ask? Well, in essence it's a 1 to 4 multiplayer indie action RPG with puzzle and tactical elements thrown in for good measure. Forced was developed by Danish indie team BetaDwarf, and just before we go into the game I would like to tell you the story of how the game was made, because it is in fact pretty awesome. So, around 3 years ago, the team of 8 found an unused classroom at a university and they left their apartments and moved into the classroom illegally. They moved in beds, fridges, microwaves, and all their equipment and began the project of their dreams. They slept at the same time as not to disturb each other, used the teacher's kitchen at night, and the team grew quite big until 7 months later they were caught by the university and thrown out. The team pooled their collective savings and rented a house in the middle of nowhere. Artists in the living room, coders in the basement, and this continued for a year, but they were running out of money. The team turned to Kickstarter, and after 30 days, things were looking bad, until one night, where a ton of people saw what they had gone through, they received over $65,000 on Kickstarter. After almost 2 years of isolation, the team found a small place in Copenhagen, where they continued to live and work in the same place like a family. However, a break could not be caught, and they could not get a distribution deal. They needed more time and took a massive risk in taking out a private bank loan of $200,000, which gave them an extra 4 months, and after working night and day, and after 3 long years, they did it. The game has now finally been released on Steam. So let's have a look at what they created. So the game starts off with telling the tale of your tribe, who as far as long as anyone can remember, have selected a few members to be trained and eventually placed in the pit as a sacrifice to the gods to stay their wrath. Ultimately, you have been trained for one purpose: to be a gladiator. Upon landing inside the pit, you meet your spirit mentor Balthus, and you are quickly goaded by the first guardian named Rathoof, who looks like a giant ant on steroids. After this short but good tutorial, named The Selection, you will head into the Hall of Trials, and this is how you progress in the main game. By completing each trial, you will eventually gain access to the guardian of that particular hall. You and your friends will be accompanied throughout the game by the spirit mentor Balthus, who is more than just a narrative device. Balthus is actually used to help solve puzzles and defeat enemies. In some trials, by moving Balthus over various totems, he will gain certain abilities, for example become an explosive. He is also used to move objects around, heal and apply buffs to you and your party, so he becomes almost integral to every single trial. You have access to 4 weapons through the game, and you can change them before each trial. Each weapon has different abilities, strengths, weaknesses, and playstyles. There's things like ranged, melee, damage soaker, damage support. All different weapons have their own abilities and passives, and you gain access to these by the gem upgrade system. Each trial has a total of 3 gems up for grabs. 1 for completion, 1 for an unnamed challenge which will become known to you once you complete the trial the first time round, and 1 for a time trial completion. Once a trial has been completed, you can go back and try and get the full 3 gems anytime you wish. In fact, I personally would encourage you to do this, as the more gems you have earlier on, the more abilities you'll have earlier on, and the less you will struggle later on. The game, as you can see, uses an isometric camera similar to games like Diablo, Titan Quest and Torchlight. One of the great things about this game is it's in its core gameplay. Unlike traditional ARPGs, the movement is separate from the way you face, allowing you to move and still face your enemies and keep attacking. This is really beneficial especially for ranged classes, as it makes the combat a lot more fluid and fun. The combat in the game actually uses a system called the mark system. Now, the marks are placed on an enemy after you use your standard attack, and you can build up to, I think it's around 4 or 5 of these. Once you use an ability on a marked target, it will make the attack more powerful, giving you a damage increase. This allows players to cooperate in taking down harder targets and more difficult to kill enemies. For example, the lightning fast spirit blades player can run around marking the targets, while the heavy volcanic hammer damage dealer can then take them out with a big AoE ability. The game is actually primarily designed for co-op play, and though you can play single player, the game is tough and is a lot more fun with friends. The game allows for some really funny things to happen. On one occasion, while using Balthus as a hovering bomb, I accidentally on purpose placed him in the path of my friend, blowing her up, and we eventually failed that trial because she was dead, but it wasn't half funny. It's certainly recommended that you play with friends either online or local. With full controller support, you can plug in a load of controllers into your PC and get some pizza and friend rounds on a Friday night and have a great time. I personally really enjoy the game's art style. I think there's a lot of polish to this little indie title. Spell effects, character models are really fun and colourful. The musical score, while it doesn't stand out, it certainly complements the game and adds atmosphere to big fights. And that being said, the voice acting and sound effects are seriously impressive for an indie title. Forced can be very unforgiving at times, almost to the point of bringing you to tears in frustration of certain trials. However, for those who love a meaty challenge, the difficulty and trying to get the extra gems for each trial adds some meat for those completionists out there. The puzzles and the mechanics of the game force you to work as a team and communicate as you go through the game. If you go every man for himself, you will die a lot. The mix of combat and puzzles really keeps you engaged in each trial and makes the trials so addictive that you genuinely think at the end of a long playthrough at the end of the night, oh, I'll just do one more, and then one more turns into several more. While the game is by no means perfect, for a first-time developer, this is an absolute triumph. It executes what it sets out to do fantastically. Honestly, this is one of, if not the best co-op game I have played this year. I would highly recommend picking it up and getting some friends to play with you. A really big congratulations to BetaDwarf. This game deserves every success and certainly puts a few better known titles, especially some AAA titles who focus on co-op, to complete shame. I think this is a fantastic game and really worth your money in this regard. Force is available now on Steam for PC, Mac and Linux for around £11.99 in the UK, which is around $15 in the US. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.